I've talked quite a lot recently about my encounter with a shaman just around the corner from where I lived that changed my life and sent me on a magical mystery tour and wonderful adventure for the last 18 months. So I thought I'd just take a little time out and put together a quick video just to show you where this took place and what it was that he was leaving as designs and patterns in stones, wood, bones, that kind of thing. Right now you're looking at the area that I live in, Fall Colours. The actual incident took place more in the depths of winter. But this is the Spielberg Castle hillside that lies just behind me. And as I say in my book, Chasing the Shaman, about my encounter, it is full of these pathways and seating areas where you can take in the views of Brno and the castle itself. It's very beautiful, full of trees and plants and birds and animals and lots of people, usually walking their dogs. And this is where my encounter with the mysterious shaman took place. So this is the actual area where I found the skeleton. I was walking towards the camera and the skeleton and the rucksack were laid out just about where I'm standing in this image here. When I went back the next day, I found the area that he'd been working in, where the burned patch was with the flowers, just between these two seats on the right hand side. And up the little hill there, and here was the pebble that he had placed, a polished pebble, and he'd actually hammered like a hole in order to put the pebble in a place where it would stay. And all the stone designs eventually pointed in the direction of the camera and were laid out in this location. And there is what's left of the area where the pebble was, where that damage to that stone is. Later on, when he'd finished, he moved everything over the other side of this fence here, and you can see the remnants of the stones that he was using still left there, as well as on the fence the written, what I consider to be a message about hearing the blood flowing through my body in Czech. There's the message, and as you can see I needed some help because the middle words seem to have been rubbed out. Walking away, this is where I actually encountered the shaman, the one and only time. He was running towards me in the darkness from that direction that I'm walking in. And this is where I stood and watched him from above, actually engaged in some kind of ceremony with a little drum, singing to himself and dancing. He also left some interesting things at this location, which is just the other side of my house, still underneath the castle. And you can see my house is the last house on the left hand side down the street. So equidistant in either direction, he had two locations in which he was leaving stone designs, which I'm now going to show you. Unfortunately, they're only photographs. I wasn't videoing at the time, but I did take lots of photographs, so let's look at those photographs. What you're looking at are the initial designs, which were very intricate. And as you can see, they were made with all kinds of pebbles. Some of these pebbles and stones had fossils in them, which I assume to be deliberate selection. Many of them were quartzite. He also incorporated little bits of wood, antlers, bits of bone, and he would change these designs and then often leave little cigarette ends or bits of tobacco offerings on some of these particular stones. You can see that the design, and there's a little cigarette offering on the big stone there. You can see that sometimes they also place stones on top of stones. You can see the design is shifting and morphing through time. And I kept coming back, and occasionally I'd move something and come back half an hour later, it'd be moved back again. We kind of engaged in a bit of a game. I know that he knew I knew. And even though these things were laid out in plain sight, very few people saw them. It was like just me and maybe one or two others. He incorporated other things into these designs as well, as you can see. And what they mean and why the patterns, I still have no real idea. When he'd finished, he moved the stones into piles on the gravel and then placed them behind the fence. This is where he energized stones in the sunlight. It was up that little hill. And this is the other location where his designs were made of other items. As you can see, some bits of wood, frying pans, crockery, that kind of thing, but always incorporating a quartz pebble and tobacco. After doing this kind of thing for about 6 weeks, his activities ceased. I never met the man again. I never discovered who he was or what his purpose was. But it triggered me to go in many, many different directions, chasing earth energies and working with the Slavic hierarchies of God, investigating the Slavic cultures of the turn of the millennia, 700 to 1000 years, and resulted in 3 books, which I invite you to take a look at because they tell the wonderful story of the magical mystery tour that's still in progress today, that was kicked off by this interaction with a genuine Slavic shaman.